Ever been criticised by someone who wants you to do what they want, not what you want to do? For example, you're going to spend $6,000 to go on a 1-week tour to Fiji? Are you crazy? Think of what you could do with that money. You could buy a new car, you could reduce your mortgage, you could buy new clothing, send your kids to a better school. If you go dancing tonight, tomorrow morning when you have to fulfil that project, you'll be too tired to even get started. So don't go tonight. It's a bad move. Do you think that's really appropriate to be wearing, appropriate to be saying, to be doing? You should really do what I want you to do. How you going, Mum? Oh, I'm going fine considering I'm here alone and nobody calls me. But don't you worry about it. I'm perfectly okay on my own. I won't be here for much longer, you know. You just go ahead and do what you want to do. Heard all these things before? We all have. That's where people are criticising you for the choices you want to make for your own well-being and your own benefit. And they are trying to manipulate you to do what they want you to do. So who are the biggest offenders? The biggest offenders for manipulating and criticising you are friends and family members, especially family members, right? Now, they do it for one of three reasons. One is they are genuinely concerned about you. They're concerned if you quit your job and go to see starving children in Africa and help them, that you will suffer the tsetse fly bite and be attacked by the locals. Or secondly, they're concerned if you go and do something that you really want to do, it'll make a point that they're not doing anything with their lives. They look bad because you're moving forward. And the third reason is they just want to manipulate you to do what they want, not what you want. Now, here's a simple technique to deal with that when somebody tries to manipulate you or criticise you. Number one, if what they're saying is true, that is, the criticism is true, agree with it. I mean, if it's true, it's true. For example, if you keep eating that pizza every night of the week, you are going to finish up looking like the Michelin Man. Now, that's true. If you keep eating pizza, it'll be bad for your health and you will look obese, you will put on a lot of weight and you might look like the Michelin Man. So if it's true, agree with it. So if you keep on eating that pizza, you know, you'll end up looking like the Michelin Man. You won't be healthy, you won't be able to do anything. It's true. So here's what you do. You agree with the truth. You know, you're absolutely right. If I keep knocking back these pizzas at the rate I do, I am going to be the biggest, fattest mummer in town. You're absolutely right. But I love pepperoni. In fact, one's just arrived. Would you like a piece? So you agree with the truth. If it's true, then you restate your position. That is, you love pizza and you'll keep on eating it. Now, you haven't criticised the person for giving you their criticism. In fact, it almost sounds like you're agreeing with them. So where do they go? They can't argue. You have agreed with the truth. How about, you know, if you switch careers, just throw in this job, you're going to lose all your long service leave. There's no guarantee there's going to be a future because there's a recession coming, there's inflation coming, there's redundancies coming. And not only that, there's no coming back from this. How do you know you'll ever get a job back again? Now, it's true, things are probably true. So if it's true, agree with it. You know, you're absolutely right. If I quit this job and go out on my own doing this new business venture, I will lose my long service leave. That's absolutely right. And yeah, you're right. Maybe there's no coming back from this. It could be true, and there could be some downsides. But you know, I am looking forward to this opportunity because I know this is what I want to do with my life, and I can't wait to get started. Let me show you the plans of what I'm going to do. So you have agreed with the truth. That is, you haven't attacked your critic. You've agreed with what they said, and you've restated your position. That is what you're going to do. How about if you go to Africa and deal with the orphans and try to save all those young AIDS victims, you could be bitten by the tsetse fly. Lions could come into the camp and kill you at night. You could be mugged. Don't you read the statistics? Somebody like you going to a place like that? Well, it's probably true. You know, you're absolutely right, Mum. You're absolutely right, Dad. The tsetse fly could get me. I believe that they're pretty savage, those flies. And yeah, I could be mugged, but I've got to watch out for that. You're right. And yeah, I know that there's a lot of AIDS over there and it's killed half population. I realise that. But you know, it's what I want to do with my heart. I know this is my calling in life and I can't wait to get into Africa and help people. Let me show you what I'm going to do. You've agreed with the critic, haven't criticised them, so they think that you're going along with it, but in fact you have restated your position. That is, you're going to Africa to look after the children in Africa. You know, I wouldn't deal with your company. The service is terrible. Your delivery sucks. That's what I've heard. Now, if that was true, you'd say, look, you know, you're absolutely right. For a while there, back in August, our service was dreadful. We had terrible complaints. However, we worked out what the problem was. We have addressed it now and we're moving forward. And here's what we're going to do to make sure that you get the best service anybody's ever had. You haven't criticised them. You haven't ducked. You haven't dodged. What you've done is you've agreed with their critics. So What happens then if you don't agree with the critic? What they're saying is, you don't believe that's true. For example, look, I know you want to do this, John, but quitting a career, you've been in that bank for a long time now, to go into what, network marketing? That's like pyramid selling, this trying to sell things. I mean, there's a recession coming. They're talking about the economy going downhill. There's no guarantee you'll do anything. There's no guarantee you'll sell. There's no superannuation. If you don't do what they want, you will fail. There's no coming back. Now let's assume that you don't agree with that. You've checked it all out. You think this is the future for you, and you don't agree with them. Well, you can't agree with the truth. Use strategy number 2. Agree with the critic's right to have an opinion. So what you would say would be, I can see how you think that way, Dad. And maybe there is a recession coming. I can see why you think that, because I know you watch the news and read the papers. And maybe things aren't the right time. That could be true too. But I'm looking forward to this, and I've thought about this, and I've delved into it, and I know exactly the fors and against, the pros and cons, and I know I'm going to be successful, and I can't wait to get started on this. Let me show you what I'm first going to do. So what you've done is you've agreed with the critic's right to have an opinion, even though you don't agree with it. You think they don't know what they're talking about. You don't agree with it at all. You've got your own opinion. But rather than saying something like, well, who are you to criticise me? I mean, what have you ever done with your life? Why don't you do something rather than sitting around? What so many people do. You don't do this. You agree with their right to have an opinion. You're absolutely right. You're probably telling the truth. What if they said something like, so you want to quit your job and be a parachute instructor jumping out of aeroplanes? What's going through your head? Now, let's assume you don't agree with that either. But you can still agree with their right to hold an opinion. You're right. First of all, people do get injured parachuting. However, I've checked it all out. And I know that there's 7 times greater chance of dying driving out to the jump than there is actually jumping. And I've checked out the statistics, and I know this is a career that excites me and fills me with all sorts of wonder and excitement for the future. But I can see how you'd feel that way. And in fact, if I was you, Mum, I'd feel that way about that too. If one of my kids said that's what they wanted to do. But here's what the first jump looks like. Have a look at this video. So what you've done is you sidestep, you haven't criticised them, you've agreed with their right to hold an opinion even though you don't agree with it. So, in summary, someone criticises you. Number 1, if it's true, agree with the truth. So what they've said is true, so you're going to agree with it. If you don't agree with it, agree with their right to have an opinion. Now when you do this, that means that you don't fall out with people. People don't feel badly about you. There's no anger, upset about all this. And in fact, you've told them to go to hell in such a way they're looking forward to the trip.